Ah, greetings from southwestern Utah. Look at that. Isn't that nice? No, no, that's not too nice. The tumor just keeps on growing. Like it's never going to have to collide with the harsh brick wall of reality. You know, just endless growth. What type of lifestyle do you think awaits the people who move into what I'm sure are very expensive homes with more square footage than any couple with one or two kids might need? What lifestyle awaits them? A lifestyle of driving everywhere, of not being able to walk anywhere, and not being able to walk to the store, you know, so that they end up fucking 55, 60 years old, overweight, sometimes morbidly obese, ridden with health problems, diabetes. It's just, you know, I guess I don't get it. It's no place I would want to live. But again, these are most of the options we're given. Again, just entirely car dependent. Just drive everywhere. You could just sit in a can on wheels and just drive everywhere. You know, for those of you that like being stuck in your car, especially when you're, you know, in traffic, which is almost a certainty when you have this many people driving, so that you're just sucking on the tailpipe of the jag in front of you, who's also been forced into this lifestyle. This is modern America. And don't even get me started on the kids that have to grow up in bleak shitholes like this. You know? When they hit the fork in the road of, you know, either going to school, which of course most times isn't for the passion of learning, it's just to get a degree so you can get some shithole job to, you know, keep you on the rat wheel. You can either go that way or you can get, you know, equally bleak, strung out on drugs, opioids, maybe meth, since we are in the Southwest. You know, it's a very bleak picture, and I just wanted to, before I show you all the beautiful stuff, I just wanted to give you a little taste of the reality that's out there, you know, here in the Sun Belt. You think I'm being too harsh on it? I've just seen a lot of it, and I know what comes out of it. None of it's good. All right, let's keep moving along. Here we go. Oh, look, the barbed wire in Utah doesn't even have barbs on it. It really is the promised land. Oh! How's that? Okay, so all these half-dead shrubs right here, it's mostly Ambrosia. Still got some Lareia tridentatus, some creosote bush. Got a nice Cylindropuntia here. Cylindropuntia, as I like to say, with the barbed spines and whatnot. If you were to look at those under a microscope, you would see the little recurved hooks that make it basically stick to whatever it touches. So, you know, back when I used to drink, a friend and I got hammered, and, you know, I put some sunglasses and a hat on so he couldn't get my face, and I just, you know, had him with wearing leather gloves throw little chunks of this at me. And we were actually, in fact, doing a plant of service, because the little branches, those little, what are in effect basically stems, are meant to easily dehisce because they so easily root into the ground. You can see the ground right here has got this clay-like texture, spongy texture to it, and it's just covered in a cryptobiotic crust, many of which are nitrogen fixing. Okay, most of the time it's a fungi partner with a green algae. Sometimes you got a fungus partner with a cyanobacteria, which is just a fancy word for a photosynthetic bacteria. You know, but it's still got the circular DNA, unlike the green algae, which is what you could say a higher form of photosynthetic life. Now, those bleak tract houses that I showed you were just down the way a little bit. You know, death by comfort, death by comfort, death by luxury. You know, you eat shit and you eat too much of it. You live a sedentary lifestyle. You never move, okay? You just drive from strip mall parking lot to strip mall parking lot to your work and back. It's a fucking unfulfilling, bleak lifestyle. And I'm sure if you gave a lot of these people, yeah, you dosed them with psychedelics, you know, threw them out in a place like this for a couple of days, they'd probably realize it and probably make the life changes necessary. But I'm not a goddamn Fitzbo. You know, I'm not a fucking, I don't have one of these inspirational pages. I'm not trying to convince you to do. You could do whatever you want. I don't really give a shit. I'm just saying I would never live in a place like that. And seeing places like that make me die a little bit inside. But, you know, a lot of stuff in the modern day does that. Anyway, moving right along, let's go look for some goddamn plants. Okay, so back on a gypsum, back on what's known as the Moen-Copy Formation, which means okay, that this is lower Triassic, and you got to think of a stratigraphic column, so lower means later, or excuse me, earlier. Lower Triassic, older in the Triassic sediments. So these are basically marine sediments that accumulated roughly 240 million years ago, maybe a little bit later. Remember, you got the Permian, big extinction happens about 252 million years ago, and then Triassic extinction happens 200 million years ago. Both, of course, are thought to have been caused by excess amounts of CO2 in the atmosphere, left over from the flood basalts that, of course, would just erupt for, oh, what the shit is this? We got a species of Variegonum now. I forget the species name, I just have to look it up, but it is a buckwheat Polygonaceae. You can see those umbels, that flower structure, and it's pretty remarkable. So you got a perennial subshrub, okay? Everything's going to look like shit now. Shouldn't even be mentioning this to you because it's not worth looking at since it's not in bloom, but it's still pretty interesting. It's a component of the flora out here. But what we're looking at, okay, are the gypsophiles, plants that are adapted to gypsum. And you get a lot of gypsum in these old oceanic sediments. Remember, gypsum's calcium sulfate, limestone's calcium carbonate. There's a whole lot of limestone as well as sandstone in southwestern Utah. And you can see what you're looking at right now, why these lines are there, is that's the bedding plane. That's the level that the ground was at, that the ocean floor was at when this stuff got deposited down. Yeah, see, there's the gypsum right there. Little bits of gypsum. Start your own sheetrock company. You know, Vinny's Drywall Deluxe. So gypsum, it possesses, you know, some innate physical qualities that can be really hard for plants to grow on, as well as having a kind of remarkable chemistry to it, okay? Whereas, you know, serpentine and the ultramorphics are low in calcium. Gypsum, of course, being calcium sulfate, has a lot of calcium, often excess amounts, more than most plants can tolerate, but it's also deficient in some nutrients, especially potassium. Now we're going to, oh look, it's Atriplex confertifolia, also known as shad scale. Atriplexes are weird. They're in the Amaranthaceae, the amaranth family. Same family as the spinach. But let's look at the leaf structure right here. See all those, look at all those, look at the leaf texture. Those are basically salt crystals. A lot of Atriplex species, and one of my favorites is Atriplex hymenolatra. Also called desert holly. You get it in the Mojave. You might even get it around here. But they're extremely salt tolerant plants. You know, and I used to just pass over them and not really give a shit until I learned about them more and then realized, holy shit, these things really can't tolerate some of the most brutally salty soil I've ever seen in my life. And they do that, of course, by accumulating more salt in their tissues than exists in the substrate that they're growing in. So they can kind of outweigh that osmotic pressure that the salt in the soil presents, you know. So they, remember, salt basically draws water out of things. So if you got more salt in your plant tissue than you have salt in the soil, you're gonna overcome the potential of the soil to draw water away from you. You can see Atriplex confertifolia, Atriplex confertifolia. A lot of different kinds of Atriplex, and I love them all. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean it. I just, you know, sometimes my Tourette's gets the best of me. Looking out, you can see straight over there, there's a storm on the horizon. I say that literally and figuratively as well. And I do a lot of botanizing in deserts, as you might have noticed. And one of the things I love most about botanizing in the deserts is not the botany. I mean, there's that too, of course, but it's the full frontal, up-close, naked view you get of much of the geology. For instance, over there you can see that the bedding plane of this sedimentary rock has not been compressed or folded or anything. It's still relatively flat. Not bad for 220 million years, but it's also, you can see the angle at which it's dipping and where it's going. And in some cases where there is compression, you get something like an anticline, which is just, you know, the rock folds into an arch from compression, or a syncline where the rock sinks into an arch because of either compression or sometimes expansion. You could see where the actual bedding planes are going. You know, you could see it going to the ground, at a level area, and then say there's a cliff on the other side, you could see where that same layer, the layer at the same age comes out on the cliff face. So anyway, you can see I've managed to scramble my sorry ass up to the top over here. And still looking what's going on. you know, looking out for the rocks. See a lot of erodium, which is a member of the geranium family. It's basically a naturalized invasive little birdbeak bastard here. It's got a tiny flower when it's blooming. Now you get erodium texanum, like I said, and maybe one or two other species. It's geranium family, but most of what you see, especially in this case, which I think this is a circutarium, you know, in most cases, see, there's the flowers on one. They're not native. They're invasive, but they're naturalized. They don't seem to fuck things up too much. They don't get too big. They don't compete too much. You know, it's just one of those things. It's there and it's not going away, and it sucks, but what are you going to do? But anyway, moving right along, and without going on too many more digressions, I want to show you this extremely rare species of cactus. Okay, now this is another gypsum endemic. It's only known from southwest Utah. I think it might go into northern Arizona a little bit, but this is Pediocactus sileri. You can see it's got many tubercles. It's got between 3 and 7 central spines, which are black or brown. And then, of course, the radial spines. Many more radial spines, and they're all white. Now, over there in those mountains, they're lying wait to many a Mormon sex tabernacle. Okay, but we won't even get into that. They can't even touch on that now. That's a whole bucket of worms. We won't open that up. I do love the Mormons, though. Okay, always the most repressed turn out to have the weirdest kinks. Anyway, here's Atriplex confertifolia again, Amaranthaceae. Okay, there's plants everywhere. And from the same family, we have Halophytes glomeratus. I think that's glomeratus. I forget. I got so many goddamn Latin names roll around inside my head. You know, I lose track of them sometimes. It's going to be funny if I live to be 80 and get Alzheimer's. I'm going to be referring to my relatives as Halophytes and glomeratus. Anyway, both are members of the same family right here, Amaranthaceae. Okay, Amaranthaceae has a lot of halophytes. That's salt-tolerant, even salt-loving plants. Of course, both of these fall into that category. This one's a classified noxious weed. It could be a real pain in the ass, but luckily it stays relatively diminutive and small and doesn't seem to cause too much disturbance. But that's not always the case. A lot of invasives can be a real fucking nightmare, leading both to biodiversity decline as well as extinction. But Amaranthaceae, a wonderful family, a lot of salt-tolerant plants. Salicornia is another genus in that family that's extremely salt-tolerant. You'll find it growing in brackish marshes, etc. and what the shit. Moving right along, here we go. Do you like the gypsum? You can see all these little pieces of talus, just, you know, former ocean floor, former Triassic ocean floor just breaking off. You know, forming a, oh shit, look at this guy. This guy's going up, he's blooming. Pediocactus sileri, full frontal. You know, got those yellow inner tepals. Yellow blooms. Still kind of chilly. You know, too chilly to be open right now. Look at the way it sounds when you step. It sounds like you're stepping on pieces of a broken porcelain toilet. Okay, you might ask, how do I know what a broken porcelain toilet sounds like? Because I've broken many of them. In fact, one of them, this happened while we were slightly inebriated. This is 10 years ago. Statute of limitations is long over. You know, me and my friend Cody, okay, we took a toilet that had been deemed dysfunctional, and we put it on the hood of my little manual transmission Honda Civic. Okay, put it right on the hood, and just drove down a desolate street in an industrial area at about, I don't know, 11:45 p.m. at night. Got it up to about 40. Cody slammed on the brakes. We were both wearing our seatbelts. Car lurched to a stop. Toilet went flying 40, maybe 50 feet. We spent the next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes laughing our asses off. It was a good time. Anyway, look at this. Look at this guy. This is massive. This guy's huge. Another one of those Pediocactus sileri. Who was Siler? I don't know. Probably a dead white guy. But maybe he was a cool botanist. I don't know. Again, look at those outer tepals with the fringe. Nobody told them that the 80s are over. Okay? Let it go. You're beautiful without it. Again, just almost looking like trichomes there. What a beautiful cactus. And again, endemic to the gypsum, endemic to the physical properties of gypsum, as well as the very high calcium content of gypsum and the low potassium content. That's how old do you think that guy is? because they got to grow slow. He's got to be 30 or 40 years old. There's another one in the background, got a nice eriogonum inflatum with the perennial basal rosette. There's the flowers up there. What a beautiful day in a goddamn desert. Oh, God. Wouldn't even know there's a pandemic going on. Opuntia acantha. This one's a little pink. Again, those spines, Dieter herbivory, they also protect the plant from solar radiation, as well as, maybe a little bit frost protection too. You can see those red pigments, since they're in Cactaceae, again, they're not anthocyanin pigments, which are the red pigments that most plants use. They are indeed beta-lane pigments, named after beets because beets have the same pigment. They're both in the same order, Caryophyllales. Whole world's going to shit, you'd never know it. This landscape's just doing what it's been doing for the past 300 million years. Excuse me, 240. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you by saying you're older than you look. Again, which is just gently weathering, gradually weathering, on a time scale no human being could physically comprehend. Little bits of the stratus gradually eroding and making their way down slope. Okay, looking inside the perianth right there, just a fancy word for flower. You could see, look at all those anthers, little golden anthers, and then the bright yellow stigma. How many stigma lobes you got in there? Looks like you got maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10. Flowers being a little shy. Not quite warm enough for it to open up, even though it is pretty warm on this escarpment right there. There you go. Oh yeah, looks like 8 stigma lobes, maybe 7. Okay, and the plant right next door, you can see those seeds, rather large size, maybe 3 millimeters long, which is actually rather large for a cactus seed. Hopefully someone's got a little seed bank of this somewhere. Not even sure if you'd have any luck growing this if you were a botanic garden or any sort of conservation-minded organization. Because again, that gypsum, you need that gypsum soil. There you go. Use my Letterman to pull some of them out. You can see they got a little divot in there, and I'm not sure if that's natural or if that's the result of a weevil or something burrowing in there. Anyway, we'll do a little ditty. Put these around right here. Clay-like soil. I want to put them where they can grow as seedlings under the cover of a larger shrub so they don't get too badly roasted. Seems to be the case with most cacti. Look at these. There's so many seeds in between the damn tubercles. Which means for some reason the fruits aren't getting dispersed. I don't know if it's a rodent that does it or if it's a bird or what. But either way, they're not going to be doing no good in between the tubercles. So we're just going to go and scatter them. There you go. There's a nice one. And it looks like this will look really nice right here. We'll put that right there. Maybe bury it a little bit. Just leave a little crack in the rock for it to kind of fall into. Oh, there's a lot of snow up there still. Yeah, we're still pretty early in the year, at least for Utah. I'm surprised that Pediocactus was going off. Anyway, I want to show you this guy. This is a member of one of the groups of organisms known as the fish scale lichens. This is a Sora decipiens, and you see it all over the ground. It tends to be a ground lichen. I mean, it's the only place I've ever seen it. The whole goddamn ground on these just gypsiferous soils is just, ridden with these really interesting lichens. 6 or 7 species in some places. Weird as hell. Who makes the breakfast, the fungus or the algae? I guess that'd be the algae, you know? Being an autotroph. Just a weird fucking cat. What's it look like when they're putting out spores? I don't know. Gotta hand it to them, though. They've been around a long time. Boy, that's sad. No Pediocactus on this little knoll. Even though the habitat looks right. Curly onions. Little curly allium. It's still too early for them to be going up, but they're pretty showy when they do, though. You're just easy to walk over. You'd never know they're here. Okay, here we go looking north towards the Mormon sex tabernacles. Now you can see they got the flags out here, which is good. Somebody's monitoring it because this plant is rare as hell. Only known from a handful of populations and endemic to Washington County, Utah. This is Arctomicon humilis. Humilis, of course, standing for humble because it's tiny. It's tinier than all the other Arctomicons. Well, there's only two other species, Mariamii and Californica. But you could see, also, you can see why they call it the bear poppy, because the leaves have that kind of trifoliate thing going on, look like a little bear paw, and they're hairy, but not as hairy as the other species. Those hairs, of course, reduce the incoming solar radiation. They reduce the leaf temperature when it's hot as balls outside, thus, making sure photosynthesis can still go on within those leaf tissues, that the leaves don't get too hot, as well as maybe preventing damage from frost, because it does get cold out here, as well as making a plant, the hairs are pretty stiff too, making a plant somewhat unattractive to little conejos and what the shit they might want to nibble on it. Now these are perennials, they got a taproot, and it's easy to think that they just emerge like most perennial, most plants with a perennial taproot, like a milkweed. A milkweed, the top shoots die every year, and then the root stays alive and they just come back every spring. But I think, and I'm only saying this because when I've seen a lot of these plants in the last few days, and none of them, you don't see dead leaves on. I think they remain green throughout the whole year, or at least some of them do. So that's a benefit right there. If you don't freeze and the shoots don't die because you got those hairs, and you get those odd winter days when it is warm enough to do your thing, you could just turn your photosynthesizer machines on, in a mesophil and whatever the shit, and go about your business. Okay, you never have to shut down for winter. You can shut down temporarily, but you don't have to shut down for 6 months at a time, Pretty interesting. Anyway, it's a rare plant. It's a small one. They don't get much bigger. They get maybe, about that, but they still stay pretty small. Oh yeah, there we go. You could see the gypsum, the gypsum salts in the soil. Even though the soil's that basically the alluvium of that red sandstone, very iron rich, it's still got the gypsum in it. Here's a larger specimen of that Arctomicon humilis. Now I've heard they only last for about 6 or 7 years. They're not a biennial, they're not an annual, but they don't live that long. This guy's got, you can see those buds, not quite ready to go off, but when they do, they'll be white and showy as hell. Probably got another 2 weeks, maybe a week. Okay, the ground's chilly too. Jesus Christ. It's not, I'm wearing pants and a hoodie. Again, 3 lobed leaves, looking like little pads, covered in the hairs and shit. And these plants rely, on a continuous soil seed bank. That's why, the fucking go-kart mafia and whatever coming out here with their doing spinners or whatever they do. I don't know why they do that. It seems like you get bored after a while. You just come out here and you just do it. So, do that in a city, because at least in the city, you're going to be disturbing some of the stiffs. That could be fun. But out here, there's so much other shit to do out here without destroying everything. Anyway, the OHV crowd can really fuck up a lot of things. The cattle can fuck up a lot of things, though I really kind of don't think cattle would cattle would be gnawing on these. But who knows? I mean, like I said, some of the dumbest animals after humans, the cows. So you never know. Maybe they'd try it, spit it out. You ever wonder what the aurochs were like? The wild ancestors of cattle? Bet they were a lot smarter. Look at that. This is what the ground is composed of. Almost pure selenite. Though it looks a little rough to be pure selenite. Looks like there might be some other kind of salts in there. Either way, it's still, you know, it's very, chemically very odd soil. Pretty amazing this thing can grow. Endemic to the gypsum. It needs gypsum. You know, I don't know if it needs it, but it certainly tolerates it. You know, it likes the exposures. Nothing else growing around it. It can outcompete any other plant that's not adapted to the gypsum. It's a gypsophilic plant. You know, just like Arctomicon californica. Do you like gypsophile endemism? I do. Pretty fucking incredible. I don't know how it's growing here. This soil has to be shit. You know? Look at it. It's so salty. You got deep down in there, you dig down and there's gypsum crystals and God knows whatever the other shit is in there. Hey, you give me $5 if I stick a handful of this in my mouth? Huh? Huh? Bet you'd like to see that, wouldn't you, you prick? Huh? Oh, that sun feels good. You know, it's been kind of rainy and whatnot the whole damn day. And now it's, you know, it's coming out a little bit more. That's nice. What do we got here? It looks like we got a species of Physaria. Brassicaceae, the kale family. Quite a few Physarias out there. In the American Southwest, as well as the Rocky Mountains. You can see, oh my God, it smells incredible. I wasn't expecting that. So Brassicaceae again, got those 4 petals. A lot of the Brassicaceae have stamens of unequal length. But I can't get in there and look at that flower. Smells incredible. It's growing on a gypsum. Makes me wonder if it's an endemic. It probably is. Absolutely beautiful. You could see it's got those nice blue glaucous leaves. Looks like it's got a nice layering of Adenis farina. Perhaps some glands on there to keep those leaf temperatures down. Again. Oh look, you got a little crab spider waiting for his dinner in there. Not a bad idea, since this is the only thing really going off. You know, you get a pollinator coming by. Pollinator thinks he's going to get lunch. Instead, he just gets nabbed. Hey, he'd be nabbed by the crab spider right there. That's big for a Physaria, too. You get another Physaria chambersii, the bladder pod. It just, you know, grows. It's got kind of a basal rosette. Damn, that's nice. Like that. Look at his soil texture. It's spongy and soft now. You know, just like a sheet of drywall. If you get a sheet of drywall wet, kind of turns spongy. But I guarantee you, in 3 or 4 months, when it's 105 outside, you know, almost 0% humidity, this is going to be rough as hell. And really impossible to kneel on without being in pain. I mean, just super crunchy. And I mean, I've seen it. I see gypsum, you know, in the deserts in the middle of July. It's a nightmare to walk. You can't walk on it barefoot, that's for sure. You walk on it with boots. It's crunchy as hell. Kneel down on it to take pictures of shit on the ground, cutting into your knees. I mean, it really feels like somebody made a shitty batch of concrete. That's a bummer. Another member of the Brassicaceae, but this guy's a noxious weed, another bad invasive, Strigosella africana. And it's just coming up by the fucking handfuls here. That's a real bad one. Ariagonum looks nice though, huh? There you go, more of the damn soil crust, you know. looks like it looks like dog vomit. Like dog vomit, or like someone's sewer exploded, and you know, like pee-pee that's been in the pipe for a while. Okay, but if you can get those images out of your head, it's still pretty goddamn beautiful and fascinating. You got like 9 different species here. Got some moss down there too. Some nice non-vascular plants. Then just a fungus and lichen party. Okay, all right. There you go. Just a huge chunk of gypsum. Look at it. Okay, now I'm going to remember this for Vince Wisniewski's drywall business. You know, just as a source. Okay, if you ever run out of the sheetrock, because some of those sheetrock spots, especially the one off Manheim Road over there in Franklin Park, can get a little expensive. Okay, but you know, I don't know why some people have so much trouble installing a drywall. Okay, it's a real easy thing to fuck up. I think what's going on is that they're high. You know, they're getting high and they're forgetting their measurements, and so you end up, when you're putting it on, you know, on a frame, you know, you get your measurements off and you get overlap, and it's just a mess. But I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have them smoking grass, you know, than getting hammered. When you get hammered, it's when you put holes in the drywall. All right? Okay, now this plant's pretty easy to take for granted. Yeah, it's beautiful and what the shit, but it's also everywhere. This is a plant called paintbrush. It's in the family Orobanchaceae. The entire family, almost the entire family, are hemiparasites. Some are holoparasites. But hemiparasites parasitize other plants. In case the case of this one, which is a hemiparasite, it's parasitizing this Atriplex. That's why you always see them growing at the base of Atriplex or sagebrush or whatever the shit. Holoparasites are obligate parasites. They can't photosynthesize it all on their own. Hemiparasites like this, you can see it's got some green in there. It's got some chloroplast of its own, some chlorophyll of its own. It's photosynthesizing itself. This is Castanea cremosa. Okay, it's a species of paintbrush, and it's actually, you know, you think that these are the flowers, these are the petals and whatnot. These are just bracts. These are just the basically petal-like leaves that have that bright red color in them to help attract pollinators. The actual flower, as you can see, is this thing right there, that tube. And what you're looking at, those are the sepals, okay, right there. That tubular thing, those are the sepals. You got the bracts. Here's one I dissected. I had to take it apart and whatnot. Got the sepal pulled back. That's those are the petals right there. That's the corolla. So remember, calyx is sepals, corolla is petals. Then you got 4 stamens in there. Those 4 lower parts with the yellow anthers on them. And then you got the style just above that. So 4 stamens in a style, and the 4 stamens tend to be of unequal lengths. It's called being didynamous. They're dynamous. But you don't need to remember that. Just remember that some plants have 4 stamens in 2 pairs of unequal lengths. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Okay? Castanea cremosa. So you've seen a bunch of other nice shit today. Hopefully you feel a little bit better about it. Effect the entire world's on fire right now. And, you know, just gypsophilic endemism. Pretty interesting. All right. Have a nice day. Wash your ass. Wash your hands. Try not to share air with too many people. Don't breathe. Happy pandemic. Go fuck yourselves. Bye. Holy shit, it's the COVID-19 blowout sale. If you need it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Face bags, ball gags, different kinds of Lysol wipes, hand sanitizers, leather gloves, vinyl couches, all kinds of demented sex toys to keep you occupied during these trying and depressing times when there's a moron at the helm. Located in beautiful Grand City, Utah on 666 Bear City Road. Come on down. We'll see you there.